All right, we're back. I have no idea what was going on there. I didn't lose internet connection. The laptop still said I was connected to my Ethernet cable, so I don't know. All right, 3 more tacks, and we'll throw on the arc shot cam. Rick, you're not far off from dial-up, though. Out here, we've got a company called KC Coyote, and it's actually like a little satellite-looking receiver on my roof, and our internet is only 4G speed. So if you've ever wondered if you can stream live on a 4G internet connection, the answer is sometimes. All right, let's see if we can get a couple long runs in here. We'll start with this fillet weld. I might get tangled up on the camera just a little bit, so I might not get this as far as I want. Probably helps if I turn the arc shot cam on. Joshua, I'm actually using the Typhoon right now. We are currently running the Typhoon. And if you check the video list, we posted a video last weekend going over the independent amplitude feature on the Typhoon. I had to let out of that one a little fast. I was losing my torch position, so we're going to backstep this a little bit to get rid of that crater, make sure it's not going to crack out on us. So I'm going to light up here and then step back. Melt it in, step back, get that melted in again, and run over it. All right. Can't quite roll my torch like I would normally as I'm making these longer runs. I'm having to break this up just a little bit. A little bit of a gap here, so we'll shove some more rod in. Whoop. Alrighty. So we got a little spot on the camera there. All right. A nasty little spot there in the middle where I lost my torch angle. Let's slide this around. Make sure I can get to that with the camera. That's not bad. This will give you guys a nice little view if I can get in here. Camera was blocking me from getting back there as far as I would have liked, so I'll probably touch that up with the camera off of the torch. Nice little keyhole going here. Oh. Whew. Camera was getting heavy on there. It's starting to slip. There we go. All right, let's see. We've got a real nice fit up on this outside corner. So let's run that next. We can make a couple other short runs and then we'll, it's already 7:30 with that little break we had. Rick, the tank this is actually it's not a tank per se. It is a toolbox that goes under the bed of a rollback tow truck. And I modified it to basically go around the hydraulic tank for the tow truck. So right in this area is where the hydraulic tank for the bed's going to sit. And the guy that owns this tow company, I do quite a bit of work for him. I think this is the third toolbox I've done for him like this, where we cut it out to go around that hydraulic tank, and it just makes the truck look a lot cleaner. It throws the toolbox right up to the back of the cab of the truck, so it looks a lot better than having this big open spot where that hydraulic tank is. Kind of hides the tank, but it also doesn't limit access to it to fill it up, because I believe the fill's right there too. So it just kind of hides things a little bit. I cut this tank with my Hilti circular saw. I've got let me show it to you guys real quick. There you go. A little Hilti SCM 18A. That's what I cut all this out with. It's a little handy little thing. That's it. She's mean. I've cut 1/4-inch steel plate with this. I've actually plunge cut 1/4-inch steel plate with this. I've cut miles of 1/4-inch aluminum with it. They're a little pricey, but this is man, I would have paid double if I would have known how handy this thing was. So I cut the tank down. I cut the tank down with that circular saw, and then I've got a bandsaw in the back of the shop. Vertical bandsaw is what I cut the excuse me, what I cut this material down with was on my vertical bandsaw. All right, I'm going to roll this torch cam around just a little bit. That's still in a really good position. All right, sorry. Readjusting the torch cam. Again, it was a little awkward with the camera attached, so you guys got to give me a little bit of grace. It's a nice, easy 1/8 inch inside to inside fit up, outside corner joint. To me, this is one of the easiest welds I can make. Granted, when I was doing intercoolers and radiators and stuff like that, intake manifolds, most of the joints I was doing were outside corners. So you figure probably in the neighborhood of probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 intercoolers a year, and probably half the welding on them was outside corner joints. So I got quite a bit of practice doing outside corners. I touch this little spot up where I overcut. Settings. I am running 180 amps electrode negative. I am running 91 amps electrode positive. So I am running the independent amplitude at a 2-to-1 ratio. I'm running advanced square wave on EN and EP. I'm running 171 hertz at 35% balance with a Edge Welding Supply Gaslin's number 7 quartz cup with 1/8 inch, 2% lanthanated Midwest tungsten supply tungsten, running about 20 CFH. All right, where's the next good spot? And we got a little bit of a bad fit up on this top side. I slid this bottom plate over just about a 1/16 of an inch too much. So I don't have a real great fit up there. So let's go ahead and run that. See how bad I can mess that up. Oh. Yep, and I am running a 20 series torch. How's that arc shot? Good. All right. I'm not going to be able to run super far in this position, but we'll give it a shot. Oop. Little dirty spot there. You see, I'm not really weaving, but I am moving the torch towards that open side. So what that's doing, let's see if we can get it on the torch cam. So I'm kind of rolling the torch just like this. And what that's doing is this edge that doesn't line up. I guess you guys can see it on the torch cam just as well. Oh, wrong button. So this edge that doesn't really, see, it's actually, this edge is a little bit higher than my actual base here. So what that does is it rolls that corner. Well, it rolls that corner in to where when you get done, whoop, it looks like it was a good fit up. So it's a little trick to hide some of your fabrication mistakes. Let's see if I can get up on the torch a little better. Try to run a better bead. Oop, hand slip. Oh, let's see if I can. See if we can make this work. I can get my head out of the way. Oh, that wasn't the best run of my life. I'm going to chalk it up to the camera causing me to be all over the place. So that's my excuse. Let's see. On the Typhoon, when running independent amplitude, how do you know when to adjust the positive, negative, or the balance? So that's where this gets real complicated. It can vary depending on how dirty the material is, because obviously you're not going to get quite as much cleaning action if you're running a lower electrode positive. So generally, like, this is pretty clean material. This run was a little dirtier than I would have liked, and it probably would have been pretty clean had I just ran a balanced E and EP. So I could have either turned my balance up a little bit and got a little bit cleaner run there, or I could have gone up on my electrode negative amplitude setting and got a little bit more cleaning action out of that. Now, what the independent amplitude really does is it conserves your tungsten life. So you could run, a project like this with a smaller tungsten. So you get by with a smaller tungsten and keep a point a lot longer. I had some jump up on that one, so it's messed up a little bit. So this run was a little bit dirty than I would have liked. But generally speaking, that's what the major benefit of the independent amplitude is tungsten life. And so you're just going to have to kind of balance those features with what your material is. There's not really a set it and forget it type of setting. It's all kind of dependent on what you're working on. I'm going to pop the camera off for a second and we'll make a couple long runs with you guys watching out there. No, Oleg, I can't text you back right now. I'm doing a live stream. Oh, man. All right. What do we want to run next? I'm going to flip this over. I'm being gentle as I can. All right. I think that'll work. Can I start over? Yeah, let me cut it back apart. All right. You know, that was a pretty nice little run. This box is so tall, it makes some of these a little bit of a pain in the butt. This one's going to be a little more difficult just because of the way it's positioned here. See if I can fill in around where the ceiling is. That's one thing when you're working on a big piece like this. You know, sometimes you're not going to be running right to left or left to right. Here I'm running technically kind of left to right with my right hand, but coming towards me. And this will be the longest run of the night so far, and it's one of the most awkward. Getting a little too close to my face there. There we go. So that was a nice little run. Probably could have ran that. I don't know. That probably still would have been really hard, even running left-handed, because I would have been leaned up against the box on the interior. So coming with that, my right hand still and coming across the top, give me a real nice platform. Yeah, Richard, I was actually on that run. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, I kind of screwed you guys on seeing that too well. But what I was doing was, as I was coming at myself, I was kind of feeding the rod from the side. Man, that would have been a good one. Let me see if I can get that shot, how that'll play out on the other side. Because I should be able to run that. Yeah, I can run that like this. Let's do the arc shot cam on that. Because it is a little bit different technique to throwing filler rod in there. So maybe somebody will get something out of that, which is kind of the whole point of this. That was a good run, too. All right, so we're going to be... like this. Man, that is awkward as hell. All right, I can't quite reach down all the way. So I'll do this run kind of from the tail end of this. So I can kind of show you guys what I was doing there. So when I was running that, my filler rod, now I want to angle this back. There we go. So my filler rod was coming in like this. So let me do it. Let me try to get a short run of that in. Whew, that's awkward there from that angle. A little bit worse than the other side was. But yeah, you can kind of see I was actually, hitting the kind of the center of my puddle instead of that front edge. And I was kind of pushing my filler rod into that, into the center of the puddle and not on that leading toe of the weld. Sometimes you get in a little awkward position. You can do that a little bit better on outside corners than you can anything else, just because you kind of have access to the, the side of the weld where you don't have that access with a butt weld. So you can get away with that a little bit on the side, on an outside corner like that. Anyway. The camera might just be out of adjustment a little bit. I can, let's see. Let me pull it up real quick. And we can see if we can turn it down just a tad. I can turn the brightness down just a little bit. Now let's try that. It was up just a tiny bit higher than I would have liked. So let's maybe try another run, see if it doesn't wash out quite as bad. Is that any better? See, here we are. We can feed from the front edge of the puddle. No, about the same? Okay. I'll have to play with it a little bit. Get it back to where it's real good. Let's see. All right. Yeah, we were trying. Anyway, 751. Wow, of course. So let's push this off to the side. I'll finish this up after we get off of here. One thing I do want to talk about is how to keep parts within tolerance. Man, this is a hugely important topic, especially if you're doing, you're doing production parts, you're doing stuff with a tight tolerance. So I'm not going to show you guys these plates very closely, but it's basically a 3/4 inch thick piece of 3/16 stainless. It's got some pockets machined out on it, and it gets a ring welded into the center of it in a little channel. And it needs to be under 15 thou flatness after it's welded. Did a lot of testing. I actually developed this jig. You can see this thing is, it's 2.5, 3-inch thick aluminum. It's solid aluminum. There are no pockets to lighten it up on the back side. What I do have, I've got 2 pieces of brass that I've tacked together and then made a divot with like a punch to act kind of as a bushing. So that when I have this thing laying down, oh, she's heavy. I have this thing laying down, I can spin it real easily. So as I'm welding that ring up, I can just push it with my arm. I don't have to stop, turn the thing, reset. I can run, push, run. So if you guys are making a jig, that's something to think about once the jig gets really big is, how you're going to move it when you're welding on it. But with these, the big thing is if you just laid it on the table and were to weld up that plate, even when we first started doing those, we tried just putting one on our fab table and having some locks, some like fab clamps, hold it down to the table. And it was warping somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70 thousandths, 75 thousandths. And what we found is that, and this was what we did on a lot of parts, is we had to preload the part. So here in the center, I've actually got about 65 thousandths worth of shim. And that's what came to work best. If you do 30 thousandths shim, we still got about 25, 30 thou of bow to the corners. And so we went, we just kept going up until we got those parts to come out flat. So with 65 thousandths of shim, the plate sitting up off the this base, and then there's some bolt holes in it. We'll bolt it down to this and stress those corners down 65 thousandths so that when we weld it, it's warping, but it's warping into tolerance. And so, on a part like this, the previous shop that built those, they had like 90 of them that were warped, and we got the contract to fix them, and that was a lot of fun. So after fixing 90 of them, we decided that maybe we could do a little bit better. And so yeah, preloading the parts, and it's one thing that a lot of people don't think about. Even when you're dealing with really thick stuff like this 3/4 inch stainless, even in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's not going to warp that much. But it does. It warps a whole lot. Like I said, it was almost, some of the parts were warped almost 90 thousandths. So, 3/32 out from flat, which is huge when your tolerance is 15. And it's not 15 plus or minus. It's 0 to 15, 15 thousandths flatness. So, like I said, preloading those parts by about 65 thousandths and strapping them down, game changer. Those things are coming out like 2 or 3 thousandths overall out of flatness. So yeah, just something to think about. If you've got a part that you can run a test piece on and see how it's going to move around. If it's something you're clamping down to a table or you're clamping into a jig and you're noticing that it's pulling one way, you can try to preload it the opposite way. For instance, if it was just the opposite, and you had a jig and the part was, pulling up this way, you could actually machine a pocket into the jig, preload it down, and then it should come back into tolerance. So something to think about. This thing, I ran 19 of these back to back over the course of about 14 hours, 15 hours the other day. And this thing might have gained like 2 degrees. So, Chris, yeah, it does take quite a bit of heat out of them. But at the same time, we really have this thickness more for the strength. So it's not, that plate's not trying to bow our jig. And we have this scrap, so that's what we did. But Paul, I heard that FabTech's going to be in Orlando next year for 2024. FabTech got moved from Vegas, which I'm kind of bummed about that. But it got moved because of the Formula One race in Vegas in 2024. They fall in the same week. So it sounds like FabTech will be in Orlando, Florida, 2024. So looking forward to that. There's a lot of guys down in Florida that I don't get to see. So that'll be really cool to get down to Florida in those guys' backyards. But yeah, so it's 8 o'clock. Real simple night. Like I said, nothing super groundbreaking. Preloading parts or pre-stressing parts to get them to stay in tolerance. So it's something to think about. Next week, we should be at the school location. If you guys haven't heard, Everlast is opening up a training facility here in Kansas City. It's 9 miles from my house. It's only 4 minutes from the new airport terminal. There's like 5 or 6 hotels within walking distance. So super, super convenient for those of you who want to come from out of town. Myself and Bob Moffett will be running that deal full time. And then we'll also have other guest welders come in, fabricators, other people, top people in the industry come in and do a lesson on whatever their main skill set is. So we might have Mark Winchester come in and also do like an aluminum class with me. We're talking about having Frank Floriquin come in and do like a chromoly tubing class, fabrication class. If you haven't seen her, there's the I Am Girl Welder, Liza. We're talking about having her come in and do like a titanium tubing fabrication class. Austin Hill, talking about having him come in and do some aluminum and titanium classes. So we're going to mix it up. It's not just going to be me and Bob. We'll have quite a few other people running through to do classes, and we should start having that schedule up here pretty soon. Yeah, so that's it. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming.